With the cost of living increasing exponentially in Australia, I think there's some really smart things that my wife and I have done recently that have saved us an absolute fortune. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 8 things that we've done recently that are saving us some money in our own home. First thing that I did, and I should have done this a little while ago, was I looked at my investment properties and my own home, and I actually rung up the banks or talked to my mortgage broker and went out and got myself significantly better rates than I had before. Now, the banks are absolutely open for business. The banks are extremely competitive with their lending at the moment. There are some incredible rates on offer. I was able to save my family over $20,000 per year in interest alone just by calling a couple of the banks, switching a couple of my properties over to principal and interest as opposed to interest only, and getting my mortgage broker to refinance a couple of my properties over to better lenders now that I'm in a more secure financial position. So if you haven't looked at the properties that you own recently, the biggest opportunity that you can save money directly in your life right now is that. Now, I spoke to a client the other day. He didn't have an offset account attached to his property, but he had over $100,000 sitting in another bank account. Now, I said to him, based on his 5% interest rate, that he could probably go out there and get a 4.5% interest rate, which would save him around about $2,000 per year. And then by actually having that $100,000 in an offset account, not just the normal savings account, he would, at that 4.5% interest rate, be able to save himself another $4,500 per year in interest alone. So needless to say, he hung up the call with me, went and picked up the phone and called his bank, has now set up an offset account and is saving himself well over $100 per week just from one phone call. Now, the second thing my wife and I have done, and we've thought strategically about, is buy more fuel efficient cars. Now, I was running an old car for a long period of time. I obviously wanted to invest my money in assets, not something that's depreciating or taking my money away from me in my financial future. But recently we've gone out there and bought some nicer cars. We've actually gone and bought diesels because they're more fuel efficient. And we've gone from cars that were sort of 8 to 10 litres per 100 kilometres to cars that are more like 5 to 6 litres. So that might not sound like a lot, but we're talking about saving thousands of dollars per year in fuel alone, let alone the servicing costs associated with the older cars, etc. Now, the third thing we did recently when we bought the home that we're going to spend the next 15 years in at least was go and buy solar and put solar on the roof. Now, I remember the old days when a 5 kilowatt system, which is about 20 panels on your roof, cost an absolute shitload. I think it was like 15 to 20 grand. I actually just put a 5 kilowatt solar system on my roof for $4,500 after the government rebate. Now, that is absolutely exceptional. I had a $2,000 a year solar bill, which means within about just over 2 years, because it's making my bill basically zero, I will have paid off the solar system and for the next 15 years get effectively free power. Now, on top of that, I changed over some of the appliances in my house. I changed over the lights, the more energy efficient, and that's enabled us to bring that bill from $2,000 a year down to zero, which is another $2,000 a year saving. If you're living in a home that you're expecting to spend a long-term period of time in because you're planning on starting a family there or have a family there already, then solar can be a great way to save yourself some money, because why would you pay electricity if you don't have to? The cool thing about Australia is we've got that beautiful sun, and a lot of the times of the year it's perfect weather for solar. Now, the fourth thing we did was we put a water tank into our property. Now, we've got a pretty big garden. I've been super slack with it, which is why a lot of the plants have died and the grass isn't looking amazing right now. It has been pretty dry up here in southeast Queensland recently, but we've got this water tank in there now, which means we catch all of the water off the roof, it fills the tank, and then we can water the grass effectively for free. So rather than spending $200 to $300 or maybe $400 a quarter on water, we're now basically spending $100, which is again another $1,200 saving per year. So these little things make big differences over time, like 20 grand in interest rates, $2,000 in cars, $2,000 in solar, $1,200 in water. These are the big expenses in my life, which means I need less passive income, less business income to actually achieve financial freedom, which means I can take the pressure off myself and actually do the things that I truly enjoy. Now, the fifth thing that we recently did was we stopped jumping on the bandwagon of paying for the big phone companies and we went to one of the little guys. Audi has just started Audi Mobile. Instead of paying $120 a month in phone plans, my wife and I now pay between $15 and $45 a month, which is exceptional for unlimited calls, unlimited data. Sorry, not unlimited data, unlimited text, and a little bit of data. Now you can bump the phone plan up. It does mean paying for your device outright, but because most of the iPhones that I've had last 3 years, not the traditional 2 years of the plan, I get a year where I don't actually have to pay for a device, and that's what brings the cost down dramatically. So from $120 to $45 a month is a huge saving of over 50% for me, and I'm absolutely stoked with that. Across a couple of phones, it's saving us again about another $1,200 a year in money that we now just don't have to pay out. Now, the sixth thing that I've done, I've bought recently is in about 2017, I sold a bunch of properties that I owned in New South Wales. I also have sold some of the properties that I owned in Queensland, and I've repurposed that money. They were properties that were costing me a little bit of money, and I've replaced them now with positively geared properties. So instead of your old home that just gets single income, that costs you money to hold every week, I've now started to move towards houses and building granny flats on them, or buying pieces of land and building the house and the granny flat at the same time. So the positive cash flow from those properties, plus the depreciation on them, plus the fact that the debts aren't huge because I've sold some of the other properties and put down good cash deposits, means that these properties are now providing with a surplus of income per year, which means the basic living costs in my life are being covered by those properties, and it's taking a lot of the pressure off. So, positively geared assets are a way that I've been investing over the last 10 years, and it's enabled me and my family to do some really, really cool stuff that, normally takes people till they're 50, 60, 70 to realize, because they delay getting started with property until most of the time it's too late. The seventh thing that we've bought recently is cheaper insurances. So I'd been with one insurance company for a long time because I'd bought 11 properties over the last 10 years and a bunch of cars and stuff. I just thought it was all too hard to change. But recently I had a look at some of the competitors in the marketplace, got them to look at me as a wholesale client rather than just your standard retail, because I had more than one property and more than one car. And I was able to save myself about 25% in my insurance costs as well. So if you haven't reviewed your insurance lately, like you haven't reviewed the loans on your properties, huge way to save some money right now as well, because those insurance companies are always fighting for new business. The last thing that saved my wife and I some money recently is we've started to buy some food in bulk, again from Audi, as opposed to some of the other more expensive retailers, and we've started to buy our produce from local farmers markets that are close, which means you're not getting that huge premium paid for your fruit and your veggies and your nuts and meat that you might be paying for someone that's got a huge retail outlet. So that has brought the cost of our groceries down from about $300 a week to $200 a week, which is a 33% saving. Again, over a year, that's another $5,000. So the combination of all of these decisions, plus moving out of an office that I didn't need and renting it out, has made about $130,000 a year difference in my cash flow position, just because of all of these strategic and small things that I've done over the last 4 months. Now, it was uncomfortable to do some of these things. It's not always easy to get out there and make these changes, but I've just worked through them one at a time systematically, and it's really changed my position. It enables me to get ready for any opportunities that come up over the next couple of years, and it just makes me sleep a bit better at night knowing that I'm doing what I can to improve my financial position, which means I don't have to work for as long in the future. If you're working a job that you hate and spending a shitload of money, I don't know, to avoid it or something like that, then one of the things that you can do to work towards your financial freedom is plug those holes in your life. Focus on doing something you enjoy, or something that's going to create a surplus amount of money, invest that money strategically over time, and get the fuck out of that job that you hate. Start living the life that you really want to live with the people that you care about. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel below. For those of you thinking about buying a property, maybe over the next couple of years, jump over to www.pumpedonproperty.com, book yourself in a free strategy session with myself or my brother. We'd love to learn where you are right now, where you want to be in the future, and show you how to take advantage of what I believe will be the 2 best buying years out of the next 7 in Australia before we go into the next global financial crisis a little bit later on towards 2025, 2026 maybe a tiny bit after. So good luck with your investing, good luck with your saving, keep learning, please subscribe, and good luck with your year. See ya.